Hey, what's up, everybody? It's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show of your 24-hour day, coming to you on WODU Live, the best in college radio. I'm your host, Brendan Abbin, with my co-host Khalid Lewis, and my other co-host Rashad Pennell, who's gonna be joining us a little bit late. He's about here. Actually, just got here actually. But I'm bringing you KBR Sports today. It's been a wild weekend of sports, man. From everything in the sports world, things have just been going down from David Black getting fired in basketball to the NFC and AFC championship games of the weekend. There's so many things that have happened this weekend in sports. Like it's like in this hour span of time, it's like you only get so much time to talk about each thing that happens. But there's a lot that happened. But to go down the list of topics, we're gonna be talking about, of course, the championship games. The Pats and Broncos game. That game was like a thriller down to the last. Honestly, down to the last play almost. That was a great game. And then to talk about also if Stephen Gostkowski, essentially cost the Patriots the game with his missed field goal and early in the game in the early first quarter, I believe. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're also going to go into the talking about the David Blatt firing and if this was the right move for the Cavaliers, and then to talk about the new era that is Tyronn Lue in the coaching era, and then to also go on into the NFC Championship game with the mauling the Panthers put on the Cardinals. And then to ask the question, is Cam Newton the best quarterback in professional football? So we'll get into all those things. And for any of all those who are watching who want to call in and who want to join in on the debate, you call in at 757-683-4405. For any of those, for anybody who didn't catch that, 757-683-4405. For anybody who wants to call in and join in on the debate. But mind you, when you call in, you have to mind a code of etiquette, and there's we all know there's certain words you can't use, certain words you can't use. Yeah, you got if you call in, you gotta make sure you know what you're saying. You gotta watch for your if you wouldn't say to the Lord Father himself, don't say it on here. Essentially, that's pretty much what it is. But I'm getting right into it. The Patriots and Broncos, man. The Broncos advanced to the Super Bowl for the second time in about 5 years under Peyton Manning, and we all know how the first time went when they went and they lost to the Seattle Seahawks and got whomped essentially in the Super Bowl. But for some reason, this feels a little different because now they're not exactly being carried by their offense, but more so by their defense. And they won 20-18, and it honestly did come down to almost virtually the last play in the game, where you come down. The Patriots they made so many plays throughout the game. There were so many plays, and honestly throughout the whole game, it just felt like Tom Brady was either on his back or he was like tiptoeing all around in the backfield, because there was Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, and the Broncos defensive line was living in the backfield of the New England Patriots. So throughout the whole game, you just see that Tom Brady seemed to be under incredible duress, and throughout the whole season, you looked at it. I mean, their offensive line has been a rotational offensive line. The Patriots themselves have listed 19 players on IR this season, while the Broncos and the Panthers combined have listed only 15. It's when you look at something like that, you're like, wow, that's crazy. Like, there's been that many injuries for the Patriots. For them to even be in this point in the season, to get to this point, it's a testament to their greatness. But what do you guys think about the game and what went down throughout the game? Kyla, let me start off with you. What do you think about the game?
It was a good game. Broncos, their defense showed how great they really are. Like, to be able to, especially when Tom Brady has all his offensive pieces, he has Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, and Gronkowski, all healthy, all playing, and the defense just stops them, and it just shut them down for most of the game, and it only leads to only 2 touchdowns from Tom Brady to Gronkowski, and then I think 2 field goals. Oh no, it was a touchdown, and they didn't get the extra point, and then another touchdown to Gronk, and I think it was it one more touchdown?
Gronkowski had one touchdown reception, and Steven Jackson rushed in for one.
Yeah, that's what it was. Steven Jackson. He ran in. So the fact that they could keep them under 20 points and keep the pressure on them, that just shows how amazing this Broncos defense is. Because even last week we was talking about that the Patriots offense, we able to outlast their defense, and we were proven wrong. Like you didn't know, like Tom Brady was throwing passes that wasn't smart at all. He was being rushed so much that he couldn't find accurate spots. He threw a couple interceptions, and he just looking shaky all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Broncos defense did their thing. That's what they were supposed to do as the number one defense in the league. That's what they're supposed to do. Shut down one of the best QBs in the game.
Yeah.
So that's a great testament to their defense and like the way they just shut down Tom Brady. Um, I was liking the way Peyton Manning was looking a little bit. He didn't get as many yards as he should have, as I expected him to, but then he was looking kind of off on third downs when he couldn't convert. And definitely late game when he wasn't converting on third downs, that's what gave Tom Brady an opportunity to score again.
Okay, hold on, let me get to Rashad. Rashad, what did you think about the game?
Just like last week, I told y'all that first quarter is going to determine who wins the game. As we saw, the Broncos. But before I go there, when you say we, who are you referring to? Because I already told you that defense is going to get on them.
No, I was talking about me.
Okay, just making sure. Just because I had no faith in these Patriots. So it came down to the defense and the offense in the first quarter to play, and that's what determined the game. The Broncos went up early, and they held on to the lead the whole game. So I feel like on an offensive standpoint for the Broncos, it wasn't too impressive, as more so their defense, which overshined greatly their offense.
Mm-hmm.
Both quarterbacks was under a lot of pressure. Tom Brady significantly more, but both of them were, sacked multiple times in the game. So both quarterbacks under pressure. Tom Brady had a lot more hurries than Peyton Manning did, and eventually that's how you beat the Patriots. You make Tom Brady's pocket not be clean, make him have to move, make him make quicker decisions than what he normally makes. Get to the backfield fast enough, and you can beat the Patriots, and it showed with the Broncos.
Okay, well, to the first quarter point, I mean, the Broncos, they were, if Steven Gostkowski, which we'll get into right after this topic, makes the field goal, they're tied after the first quarter. So, I mean, yeah, and then the Broncos go on to score a touchdown, and then after the first half, the Broncos were leading 9-17. But here's the thing. One thing I would say, not to disrespect the Broncos defensive line at all, because I give them credit. You got Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, and the boys on the defensive line. They were getting back there, and they were consistently hitting Tom Brady. But the thing is, when you're under matched in skill, like the offensive lineman of the Patriots is honestly a rookie cast of people are just cast arounds. That's honestly what the offensive line of the New England Patriots has been made of. That's why so many people made so much about how quick their offense is, because it's honestly a get the ball out real quick kind of offense, quick strike offense. But when you have Akeem Talib and those guys on the outside guarding Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola, it becomes a lot more difficult to get the ball out that fast, especially when they're jamming them at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. So then when you have those guys jamming your receivers, you have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. But there was about 5 occasions I watched when I was watching the game. I said, this man legit just ran around the offensive tackle for the Patriots. Like DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, honestly, it was all about lateral quickness, and they were just running right around these guys and then getting to Tom Brady. It was sad to watch. You know what I mean? Like you sit there and you think about it. Like, of course, Tom Brady didn't make any excuses for himself. He said, their defense came out and they dictated how we played the game, and they did. And there were adjustments that Bill Belichick could have made, and that he could have adjusted to help Tom Brady have more protection. He could have put that other tight end in the game to help provide extra protection off the line of scrimmage. But then also when you put in that other lineman or other tight end, you're taking out a wide receiver. So that changes up their offense also. But there were so many times that you sat back and you're like, man, like I felt like every single time I looked at Tom Brady, he was on the ground. Not to say Peyton Manning also got rushed, but when you look at the stats, Tom Brady got hit a total of 28 times. 28 times. That's a lot of hits. And even though all those hits aren't recorded as sacks, just the fact you're getting back there and you're hitting a guy is going to make him start getting a little antsy. There was one play that Tom Brady rolled out to the left, and he did the ugliest pump fake, one-handed like faking as if he was about to throw, but because he thought he was going to get hit. And it becomes the kind of thing, your mindset, you're like, okay, I gotta get the ball now or I'm gonna get hit. That's how a quarterback feels. And then there's honestly nobody around him, but he just felt as though the hit was coming because he had been getting hit all evening. And then he missed Gronkowski on the other side of the field. So you look at something like that and you're just like, man, you feel for him. And then, I mean, the Broncos defense played great. I mean, anytime you force two interceptions from Tom Brady, that's a great game. Tom Brady has not been the one to be throwing interceptions this season. So when you can actually force him to turn the ball over, that's when you look at how great they are. They forced 2 turnovers from him in this game, but he only had 7 on the season. So you look at something like that and you're like, wow, the Broncos defense did play exceptionally well. And then Tom Brady went 17 of 36 in the game. This is the first time Tom Brady's thrown below 50%, and Lord knows how long. So you'll never hear these kind of stats from Tom Brady. He had a quarterback rating of 22, a passer rating of 56.4. But this is how you also see that the Patriots needed help from other places and they just weren't getting it, because Tom Brady was the leading rusher. Tom Brady was the leading rusher for the Patriots. He carried the ball 3 times for 13 yards. The next person was Brandon Bolden with 5 carries for 12 yards. That's crazy. That's bad. Even though the Patriots aren't known as a rushing team, your quarterback can't be your leading rusher. That's not acceptable. And Gronkowski did what Gronkowski does. I mean, he had 8 receptions for 144 yards and a touchdown. And then Julian Edelman, 7 receptions for 53 yards. He got his receptions, but the Broncos did a great job of tackling them on the wrapping them up right when they got to him. Because that's one thing that the low receivers of the Patriots do. Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola, they know how to use their quickness to get yards after the catch. But the thing is, the Broncos were tackling them right there and there. So credit to the Broncos, who are now going on to the Super Bowl. But going on to the next topic, another crucial play that affected exactly how the outcome of the game could have went was in the first quarter, actually. What I alluded to earlier was when Steven Gostkowski missed an extra point that would have tied the game at 7-7 in the first quarter. And that extra point, even though you go through so much throughout the game, you know what I mean? But that extra point inevitably came back to bite the Patriots, because on their last drive of the game, they scored. And if they had that extra point, that initial score could have, tied the game and sent them to overtime. Nobody's saying the Patriots would have won, but that score would have sent them into overtime. And in overtime, you never know what's going to happen. So, guys, how much blame do you all give Steven Gostkowski for this missed kick? There's many, like Gostkowski himself said all day, these guys put their bodies and lives on the line. And for me to come out here and miss a kick, it's a nightmare scenario. And then he said, I feel like I lost the game. I feel sorry for myself, but I don't expect people to feel sorry for me. And what Brady said on the issue was, he said he's a great player. He's the best. Everyone misses them at some point. There was plenty of football left. And to credit Gostkowski, I mean, he had made 523 field goals before that point. So he had made 523 straight, and that was his first miss in that many and 524 attempts. 24, yeah. So then Gronkowski went on to say, it's not just one individual's fault. You can put it on the hands of Steph, but there's no way. So what do you guys think about it? Rashad, let me hear your take. How much blame does Gostkowski get for the loss?
He has no blame, because even if he would have made that field goal, they would have been down by 7, right? And that team, no, they would have been going down by 7 going into that final drive for the Patriots instead of 8. So if you think about that, if you're thinking like the Broncos thinking, a lot of the plays they did was a lot more conservative than what they were. Even though their offense wasn't as efficient, it wasn't as conservative. It wouldn't probably been as conservative if it was only up by 7 instead of 8. Because as the way your defense is playing that game right now, and they're holding this team, so they feel like, yeah, we can stop them for 2-point conversion. So let's try to get the clock down more. So offense wasn't clicking, but the defense was. But I feel like if Gostkowski would have hit that kick, the Broncos wouldn't have been as conservative towards the end of the game as they were. So therefore, I don't have them to blame. I still don't see them winning this game, even if you would have made that extra point.
All right, Khaled, what do you think?
I give a little bit of blame to Gostkowski because the first when he kicked it the first time and he missed it, but he kicked it, he missed it. It would have definitely tied them up in the first quarter. And thinking about later in the game, if he would have made that kick, they wouldn't have to go for a 2-point conversion to tie. He he would have been able to kick it again, and then it would have tied it up. But who knows if he would have missed it then? Who knows if they probably would have went for the 2-point conversion to win the game, or even in overtime. I don't think they would have won in overtime either, because I definitely think that the Broncos defense played so well that they just stressed out the Patriots offense. And until late game, like Rashad was saying, they were playing more conservative. So this, like, if they go into overtime, they're going to be playing harder than they were in the previous quarter, because they don't want the Patriots to score before them. So I do think that they still wouldn't have won if he had made the field goal or not.
Okay, here's my thing to both of y'all. To Rashad, the point you made, the Broncos still were. This isn't a Carolina, Seattle Seahawks situation where the Broncos just started predominantly running the ball. Peyton Manning was still throwing the ball, but the Patriots defense was just forcing incompletions. So it's not like they became the Carolina Panthers when they played the Seattle Seahawks a week ago, and they became conservative. They were still trying to be aggressive. It's just that the Patriots were making plays on defense. And then to that point, also to y'all point about they wouldn't have won in overtime. I mean, even though your defense is playing great and everything like that, at the end of the day, you still don't want to let your team. You don't want to let the other team score at all, regardless if you're going for 1 and going for 2. It's still a 1-possession game. If they get the 2-point conversion, you're sitting there. You're just like, oh man, we got to go in overtime. And that can deflate a team. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that you have a lead. I mean, the Patriots were down throughout the whole. Well, they had like the ball. They got 3 possessions within the last 5 minutes of the game, which even shows how the Broncos weren't being conservative, because they didn't run the clock out. The Patriots got 3 possessions to get a chance to score. And so if you're telling me that, because both defenses were playing great, it's just so happened that Tom Brady was the one taking the most hits. Mm-hmm. But the Broncos offense wasn't productive either. Peyton Manning threw for less yards than Tom Brady. So, and they had less total yardage all around. And the main thing that comes to grist for me is the fact that the reason why the Broncos won is because they had less turnovers. Tom Brady threw 2 picks, Broncos had 1. And that turnover Tom Brady threw was on their own 20. So it gave Peyton Manning a short field and helped them to score. So I can't say definitely that they in overtime, no one team would have won over the others because of how they played in regulation. I mean, at the end of the day, this game was a 20-18 game. As great as the Broncos played, the game was still 20-18. So that means the Patriots played just as well. Also, it's just that if that field goal was made in the first quarter, then they go about the whole thing. I mean, Gostkowski to me deserves some blame, but there was also multiple football plays that could have been made. This isn't like because you can also bring up the situation with the Vikings and the Seahawks game where Blair Walsh missed the field goal kick. Some people are ready to give him blame, but I mean, there was multiple plays in the football game that could have been made. So how was Blair Walsh given blame, but Stephen Gostkowski is not given blame? No, it doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, they were both chip shot field goals, regardless of whether one was at the end of the game or one was the beginning of the game. They're both chip shot field goals, so both kickers take some blame. But at the end of the day, there was more plays that could have been made. And if he makes that field goal at the beginning of the game, they're tied in the first quarter. And then coming down to the last drive, you tie the game up. The Broncos, I think there was like 12 seconds left after that play. There was 12 seconds left. So the chances of the Broncos scoring again in regulation was very slim with Peyton Manning's arm. So you go into overtime, you never know what could happen. And I mean, there was also times that you can look at it that, you could say that Bill Belichick, there was a time where I think there was a 4th down play actually. And he elected to go for it instead of taking the field goal points. And people on the commentators for the game were saying, it makes sense because of how the tempo of the game was going. But at some point, sometimes you're like, man, you should kind of take the points because you never know what the situation might be. Because if he would have took the points, at that point it was an 8-point game. If he would have took the points, it would have made it a 5-point game. So then that next score would have made it, they would have been up by 2 essentially. So, there's a lot of plays made in football, and it just so happens to be that the Patriots didn't make enough plays to win the game. But going on to the next topic, and we're gonna move on to the NBA actually. And this weekend, there's the whole NBA landscape feels like it's just been talking about David Blatt getting fired. David Blatt. And it's funny because we were just on here last week talking about the Cavaliers after last week's loss, and we were talking about, how does it seem like if David Blatt, would it make sense for David Blatt to be fired? Could he possibly be fired? Lo and behold, Friday evening, you hear the news. David Blatt's been fired. Breaking news. Blah 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 blah. And you're just like, what? Like, so many people were just astonished by him being fired, and because essentially he did have an 83-40 coaching record. So he doubled his losses actually in wins, and he had just had this team in the NBA Finals. And you hear different quotes from players and other coaches. Like Rick Carlisle said, this is embarrassing for the league and stuff like that. Cause he's like, how is a winning coach essentially get fired? And then I think he made a joke with somebody saying that if David Blatt can get fired, or it's either Rick Carlisle or Steve Kerr that said if David Blatt can get fired, then we're all in danger. And you look at that and you just wonder, was this the right move for the Cavaliers? Carla, let me hear what you think. Was this the right move, especially at this point in time in the season? Because when he got fired, the Cavaliers were 30-11. So and now they're 30-12 under Tyronn Lue because they got their first loss. But yeah, do you think this was the right move for the Cavaliers, and especially at this time in the season?
I don't think so. They kicked them. We're not gonna say because of the loss against the Warriors. The Warriors' loss was big, kind of like showed us how great the Warriors were against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and how much the coaching should have been a part of that game in order to get that deficit of 34 points smaller. I don't think that they should have kicked him because he did have a winning record. He probably the only coach in the Cavaliers, in the whole the franchise history, to have a winning record like that and to get them to the finals. So to kick him is just brings up a question mark. Yeah, maybe the players aren't as connected to the head coach as they are the assistant coach, but he's still the head coach for a reason because he can get those wins. He's been getting those wins, and he's 33-11. Mid-season, it's you looking at it, it's just like they're still winning though. They still have 3 times as many wins as they had as losses. So just to kick him just confused me. And the thing is, when they kicked him and brought in Tyronn Lue, it's like the coaching really didn't change. Because in the next game where Tyronn Lue, where they lost with his coaching, it was just looking like the previous game against the Warriors. It was like they didn't know where to go. Their shot selections were off, and they put up 20-something 3-point attempts and missed the majority of them. Probably only made 3. So it's just the coaching. When the coaching switched, it didn't look like a very big difference in the way they've been playing. I just think that this whole Cleveland Cavaliers franchise is all shook up, and to get rid of that man like that, I don't think it was a smart move.
All right, Rashad, what do you think about the firing?
This man David Blatt has been on the basically he was on the hot seat since last year mid-season when they went on that slump. So if they were trying to get rid of him then, even though he made it to the finals, I see why they're trying to get rid of him now. Do I think it's a good decision? No, because at the end of the day, it's the players who play, not the coaches. When all you did was bring in an assistant coach who basically is going to run the same offense as the same team. So all you did was use the coach that, like we say, LeBron talks to more and switch chairs with him and then get rid of the other guy. But we can't, David Blatt did take this team to the finals, well, with LeBron at least. But firing him and then not change, nothing's changed. Like you said, they're still the same team. They're still gonna play the same way, and unless someone like this brings in a new offense, which Tyronn Lue is not gonna switch a new offense in a day or anything like that. So it's not. I don't even think it's not even a morale booster because, like LeBron said, he didn't even know. Like he was just as shocked as everybody else was when he got fired. It's not a morale booster to lose a coach. Those teams isn't playing to get that coach fired like some teams do. It's not like that. So firing him wasn't a smart decision, wasn't a good decision. They lost a good coach who actually should go to another team and actually make an impact there. And then we'll finally see and appreciate it, David Blatt on another bench coaching somewhere because he was an effective coach.
So have y'all ever in sports when y'all played, have y'all ever had a coach that could bring out more energy in you guys when you guys played?
like a certain coach.
Mhm.
I mean, there's certain coach. I mean, there's certain coaches you like better than others that you would rather play for at the same time. But I mean, that doesn't cost the other coach to be fired. Even if your whole team is like, damn, I really like playing for this coach. Like, let's say like in football, something like, I really like the receivers coach. Like he really gets to you, like that you know what you need to do wrong instead of just yelling at you or something like that in high school. But I mean, even if all of us say that, nobody's gonna be like, well, athletic director's not gonna be like, well, get the head coach out of here, make him the head coach, something like that. So yeah, I mean, everybody has coaches they'd rather play for.
It's gonna bring out
then,
more energy, but
so they tell you the right thing. Yeah, you're more hype or whatever.
But they might not have better play calls.
Have y'all ever, I don't know, ever played with a coach that you wondered, man, this dude doesn't know what he's doing, and you're like, we need a better coach in this situation? I feel like we had a better coach who would have got a lot more wins.
I mean, you can't really have a lot more wins with that team as well as they were winning. I mean,
I'm just asking.
everybody had bad coaches.
Yeah.
They wish, saying we had somebody else who could do better. But I mean, this is the same case for like David Blatt, who's actually had this team constantly winning and at the top of the East. So
it's Tyron.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a players' league. So
this to my case, because there's been games where Tyronn Lue's actually saved the Cavaliers, but David Blatt was the head coach. So if you're a star player and your timetable to win is so short, LeBron's steadily decreasing out of his prime. He's falling out of his prime, and essentially is becoming the next man up on that team is Kyrie Irving. And you know this as an organization, and you have a coach who's still getting accustomed to the NBA game, while at the same time he did make it to the NBA Finals. How much of that can we attribute to the fact that they had LeBron James on their team, and they were probably the most talented team in the East? Because it can be argued that if in that Chicago Bulls series in game 4 or 5, when David Blatt is trying to call a timeout when they have no timeouts left, you get a technical for that, and then the possession gets awarded to the Bulls. And so LeBron never gets to take that game-winning shot. They could possibly have gone down in the series and ended up losing the series, which they would have never advanced to play the Warriors. So you have little mistakes that happen like that, and then you have a coach who, if we all have played on a team, you all know there were players that didn't get reprimanded by coaches. So then you see that, and you see a coach in David Blatt who doesn't exactly get on LeBron James when he misses a defensive rotation, but it's Tyronn Lue who's that guy for the team who goes like, hey, LeBron, you need to rotate here. You need to get back on defense. The star player, the guy that everybody's recognized as he is the organization, Tyronn Lue's the guy that actually has the wherewithal to tell him, hey, man, you have to do this and do that. Whereas David Blatt's a little bit more resigned to doing it because of the stardom of LeBron James. Y'all haven't had a coach that's done things like that, and you've been like, well, that's not exactly right for our team. If this guy is not, you're doing your job, but another guy's messing up or something like that, and it's costing the whole team, but the coach won't say anything to this guy because he is a star. I mean, when players have coaches like that, you look at a coach, and you're like, you're the head coach. You shouldn't be afraid to come at like LeBron James is technically your franchise. Cleveland isn't a playoff contending team without LeBron James, or a championship team without LeBron James. But the players respect Tyronn Lue. I mean, him and LeBron have also been friends since he was 17 years old. But that hasn't stopped Tyronn Lue for still getting on LeBron and getting on him about things. Even when he got hired, he told LeBron, hey, I'm gonna have to hold you accountable, and I'm gonna have to hold you accountable in front of everybody, in front of all the guys. But because I can do that, because I can hold you accountable, that let me hold accountable everybody else on the team. So go ahead, Rashad.
See, I agree. I agree with you on some points. I agree with you on, it's like this is where it's conflicting me with you. Every coach is not a leader or a manager. There's a difference between the two. There's a difference between being a leader, difference between being a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Your organizer, your planner, you're getting your plays in. That's your manager. That's your David Blatt. Then you got your leader who's not afraid to speak up, who motivates people, is a leader. A good leader is not necessarily always a good coach, but also a good manager is not always a good coach. But if you don't have both aspects, someone like a Phil Jackson, because there's not that many coaches in the league that's actually a great coach. You see what I'm saying? Like a coach, there's not. Okay, let me rephrase. There's not that many coaches that makes a team play better more so, say, other than like a Phil Jackson who puts in a specific offense. Because you can say the same thing like a Steve Kerr with Mark Jackson. Nothing changed. The team just started playing better. The team started hitting more efficient shots. Well, started hitting better shots. I'm not saying it's more efficient, but it's like that.
But there's things you see. I can't not take away credit from Steve Kerr, because even though Mark Jackson did have the team playing well, Steve Kerr also changed the lineups. He put in a new offensive system. Yes, Steph Curry and them
were really a system.
It is a system. I mean, see the Warriors, the way the Warriors played, that ball movement, they didn't have that ball movement there like that when Mark Jackson was there. They implemented that ball movement, that system. Why can't you say that it got implemented? How can you say the players didn't get older and more experienced? I understand what they need to do better. Because that's a whole different offense. You get
the offense
older,
is not that different.
The offense is different.
It's not that much different.
It is different. You saw the Mark Jackson era. A lot of what the Warriors do now is a lot of off-ball movement with Stephen Curry. Not saying they didn't do it when Mark Jackson was there, but now the Warriors resemble the Spurs a lot more versus
You when you talk about the Warriors a couple years back.
Yeah,
you still talked about the Warriors team. The Warriors team was always
about them, but you didn't talk
about it as much as now.
But there is something to be said for how it's like a coach like Steve, the way Steve Kerr has helped in Draymond Green's maturation to becoming the player that Draymond Green was. Draymond Green wasn't even nobody even knew about Draymond Green a few years ago. Steve Kerr put him into the starting lineup. It was Steve Kerr that did things like that. The guy that's coaching the Boston Celtics, I can't remember. Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens. There's plenty of good coaches that are doing things around the league that you can not acknowledge that they're doing great things with maybe lesser talent. The way Brad Stevens has the Celtics playing is great. The way what Stan Van Gundy's doing in Detroit is great. Detroit was just a team a few years ago that wasn't good. Stan Van Gundy comes there. They're in the playoffs currently as it is right now. So there's plenty of examples of coaches that you look around the league that are helping their teams win. And it just so happens Steve Kerr had a lot of talent to do it, but it's not by accident that the Warriors won 66 games last season. I mean, that's no coinky thing. I mean, it's because I'm not saying it's all because of Greg Popovich. I mean, you have great players also, but Greg Popovich, there's a reason why people say that. There's a reason why you go to a team and you know what the culture is there. What was the culture in Cleveland? We can't say there was no culture. There wasn't a culture in Cleveland. It was LeBron, and whatever LeBron says goes. There can't be a system where people are doubting who's the player and who's the coach. It can't be that. There's nothing like that on any other team. The Warriors, no. Bulls, no. The Spurs, no. There's nothing like that on any of the teams that we talk about that can contend for a championship.
But okay, so the same thing can go for that Heat team when LeBron was there. When LeBron is it more so where LeBron goes? Because LeBron did the same thing in Cleveland when he was first there. Everywhere LeBron goes, his coach is always in the hot seat.
See,
it's always in the hot seat.
Here's the thing: so his coach is always in the hot seat because LeBron James teams have such high expectations.
Okay, so what's the blame for what David Blatt did wrong? I mean, because if LeBron doesn't perform one game or something like that, or go for a streak, he gets in like that streak when he went in his hot seat his first time. LeBron was out. You take probably the best player in the NBA right now out the game, and what do you have on the team? Because most of your money goes to him anyway. So building a strong team like a Spurs team or something like that is difficult when you're paying LeBron so much money. So now you bring in someone like Tyronn Lue, who, like you said, is getting on him for defense because he understands defense because he got dropped by what's the name? By Allen Iverson, got stepped over. So you understand stuff like that. He's like, you don't want that happen to you, to LeBron. So you bring in someone who's yelling, hey, don't let this happen to you. Stuff like that. So you see what I'm saying?
Let me reply to your point. To one point, your point about what happened. David Blatt wasn't on the hot seat because of the loss. It's because people were questioning his experience. The same thing with Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra was on the hot seat because they were losing. That's the difference. When they started winning, Eric Spoelstra was on the hot seat anymore. You noticed that, right?
The same thing with David Blatt last year. After LeBron came back and started winning again, nobody really brought up the.
No, people brought it up again in the playoffs. People brought it up again in the playoffs. Especially after that play that happened with the timeout. Everybody was talking about it in the playoffs.
Mistakes, though.
Everybody that you can't make. You're the head coach. You can't make that mistake.
Point guards make the same mistake.
No, point guards make
the mistake on the
court.
court.
You can't. You're the head coach. You have to know how many timeouts you have. You can't just say you're supposed to be coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers, head of that organization. Everybody's already lambasting you for talking about how people even Tyronn Lue had to teach David Blatt how to use the timeouts because he would use them in ill-placed times where. We get all these commercial timeouts. A commercial timeout is coming up in about 2 minutes. David Blatt would use a timeout right before then. That's ill-timed timeouts. Tyronn Lue was who was teaching David Blatt these things. Tyronn Lue was the one that was teaching David Blatt. A lot of things David Blatt didn't know about the NBA game, Tyronn Lue was teaching him. And to your point about Eric Spoelstra and the Heat, The only reason why Eric Spoelstra was on the hot seat that was because they were losing, and because Pat Riley was the general manager, and because Pat Riley had came down beforehand. That was the main reason. He came down when Stan Van Gundy was coaching the Heat team in 2006. Pat Riley had came down and coached that team to the championship. That's the reason. But after they got to the finals and everything, and the thing is, this is a different culture because the leader of that team, even though LeBron James was the player, you could argue it was co-leaders in Dwayne Wade and him. LeBron is the leader of this team, and Dwayne Wade, the way Dwayne Wade handled that team, he took a step back for LeBron to be the main mogul of the team. But it was still, you still felt that the team was Dwayne Wade. Miami was Dwayne Wade. Yeah, that's what it was. And you felt, so there was two different cultures. You know what I mean? There was a different culture in Miami. When you went there, you knew it was Pat Riley and the Heat, whatever. You know, you never questioned who was running the organization. What you knew, Pat Riley was the guy. But Cleveland, you don't know what it is. You don't know what everybody's questioning who's in control. If LeBron, David Griffin had to say in his press conference, LeBron doesn't run this organization. LeBron is the one running the organization.
You're right. And they said the same thing in Miami.
Nobody said that in Miami. Everybody gave Pat Riley the credit Pat Riley built this team.
I'm talking about when LeBron first got there. Mm-hmm. Everybody was like, is Eric Spoelstra really coaching them, or is LeBron coaching the guys?
No, people weren't saying it.
Yes,
no,
they were.
They were just saying Eric Spoelstra doesn't know how to do the rotations for the team. People weren't questioning if Eric Spoelstra, who was coaching. People were asking if LeBron had respect for Eric Spoelstra, because especially after the shoulder bump, but nobody was questioning if Eric Spoelstra was actually the coach. People are questioning now because LeBron never subbed himself in and out of Miami. He never waived off substitutions from players. He never waived off the plays of Eric Spoelstra.
The man making coach decisions.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He does that now in Cleveland. LeBron didn't do that in Miami. So in Miami, it mainly came down to, is Eric Spoelstra experienced enough to handle these stars? That's what the question was with Eric Spoelstra. Can he handle Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, get them all their touches and make it work? And then after Dwayne Wade himself was like, hey, LeBron, I'm not the same. You know, I have injuries or whatever. You take over. You do what you did in Cleveland. That's when everything worked out, because LeBron, if anything, LeBron didn't want to be that guy because he didn't want to step on Dwayne Wade's toes. LeBron didn't want to step over Dwayne Wade. It was too much of them deferring to one another initially. But once Dwayne Wade was like, hey, I'll take the step back, that's when everything in Miami started working out. Whereas in Cleveland, I mean, the next best player is Kyrie Irving. But everybody knew once LeBron James came back, there was no question about who was 1A, 1B, or whatever. It was LeBron. It's LeBron's team. Whereas in Miami, everybody knew that it's argued that Dwayne Wade, and when Dwayne Wade was in his prime, it was argued who was the best player.
Because Dwayne Wade was a megastar then.
He was, and that's my point. Now there's no question about who's the best player on this team. So when all this stuff is coming about the coaches, yeah, you know what I'm saying? When all this stuff is coming about the coaches, LeBron has not openly came out and said, I don't want David Blatt to be my coach. But you look at some things and you see some mannerisms that LeBron has had with David Blatt and some of what the coaches, the players say about David Blatt. I mean, at the end of the day, he is a rookie coach, or he was a rookie coach. And there was rookie mistakes that everybody knows you can't make when you're trying to get a championship team. Steve Kerr was a rookie coach also, but Steve Kerr never called a timeout when there was no timeout, when there was no timeouts left. You know what I mean? Like, there was things that he did that you knew that, like, Steve, there's also one thing that LeBron's always wanted in his career that he hasn't had, except for in like his first 3 years of playing. He's always wanted to play under a coach that's actually played in the game. He's never had that when he's had Mike Brown as his coach, when he's had Eric Spoelstra as his coach. None of those guys played. And so that's one thing he's always wanted as a coach. And Tyronn Lue was that guy. Tyronn Lue's won championships with the Lakers when he played with the Lakers. And then Tyronn Lue's, as we all know, the infamous Allen Iverson step over. Mm-hmm. But Tyronn Lue's made his rounds around the NBA. He's respected by a lot of players. And David Griffin on Mike and Mike even came on this morning and said, there's something about it when a superstar player on the other team looks at your bench and they have respect for the other guy on the bench. People didn't have that respect for David Blatt. Mm-hmm. And LeBron and them are sitting there looking at coaches like Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr. I mean, there's probably so many players. Everybody in the league probably wishes they were coached by Greg Popovich.
You're right.
But they're looking at the other bench and they always felt as though they were undermanned in the coaching department, apart from when Tyronn Lue was coaching the team. And Tyronn Lue, I mean, he's been under guys. He's coached by Phil Jackson. He worked with Doc Rivers in with the Clippers in 2013, 2014. So you look at things like that and you're like, Tyronn Lue's made his rounds around the NBA. Now, David Blatt, you come from Europe. The European game is a lot different than the NBA game. The European players are a lot different than NBA players. NBA players are celebrities, they're stars. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody has their ego, but you have to be the coach that can deal with that ego and not be intimidated by it. You could argue that David Blatt was intimidated by the egos of
He couldn't handle it.
Yeah, of the Cavalier players. But
I
don't want to disrespect him and say he couldn't handle it, because I mean the team made it to the NBA Finals. But at the end of the day, when you're hesitant to get on your best player about something he's doing wrong, whether it's a shot he took, because you're just plenty of shots that LeBron takes sometimes, you're like, wow. But the person that would get on him about that shot was Tyronn Lue, not David Blatt. So when you see that, and as David Griffin, you're watching how the team reacts with both coaches, and like you said, some coaches are leaders, some coaches are the all-around package. When you see that a coach doesn't have that, but it's possible another coach might have that and more, you're of course going to want to promote that other coach. That's just how it's been in the NBA.
Okay, so I mean, I agree with what you're saying here, but we can't. I can't sit here and say, like, I understand that, because Tyronn Lue's been in the NBA, he understands, and LeBron wants to play for an NBA coach, a coach who played in the NBA. But if you're going to come across seas, I mean, you have to be a great coach. You have to have some kind of impact when you was across. For someone to bring you from across seas, where the league is a lot weaker than it is in the NBA, and especially to coach a team, and he's still not doing a bad job. Yeah, maybe he's timid. Yeah, maybe because you don't have that in Europe. You don't have players like the LeBron James over there I'm sure you have European megastars, but they're not NBA.
Let me add something to your point before you finish. But see, here's the thing: when Tyronn Lue was brought in, LeBron wasn't on the team. David Blatt wasn't on. LeBron wasn't on the team when David Blatt was brought in. David Blatt was not brought in to coach LeBron James, or Kevin Love. It was Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins.
But they kind of
it was a rebuilding team.
They
didn't know LeBron was coming. LeBron never confirmed. They were making a run at Gordon Hayward. The Cavaliers were ready to pay Gordon Hayward money if LeBron wasn't ready to come with them. But LeBron never confirmed him. Right after they hired him, LeBron was like, I'm coming back. So then they make the trade for Kevin Love. David Blatt was not brought in to coach this championship team. He was supposed to be able to coach a team and grow as an NBA coach, as an NBA coach, make his rounds, come up the rank kind of thing with Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins and develop those players. But he didn't get that chance to because LeBron came back.
And even though LeBron came back, I don't feel like he did a bad job as a coach.
He didn't do a bad job as a coach, but
which is why I don't understand why they can get rid of him after 1 year. That's the thing.
It's just because of how
they feel like Tyronn Lue can do a better job.
It's just because of how the culture on the team was. Because there's plenty of teams that you can look at that they had winning coaches and they got fired. Mike Brown with the Cavaliers, he had LeBron. There's so many teams that you can see. Here's the thing that's deceiving about coaching with LeBron. LeBron is so great; he will always have your team winning. But sometimes it's a product of LeBron, not the coach. And it works both ways. I mean, sometimes if you take the Warriors off, if you take Steph Curry off the Warriors aren't winning as many games. But here's the thing, though. There's so many times you look at it, you're like, Steve, because of how they run the system Steve Kerr set in place, it helps them win even when Steph Curry's not there. When Klay Thompson's not there. Steve Kerr, the way he's given Draymond Green to be such freedom, to be such a point forward. There was a stretch when Draymond Green had 3 triple doubles. Under Mark Jackson, it never happened. You know what I'm saying? So you look at those things.
But players develop.
No, players do develop.
So can we sit here and say, all right, I do have another good question. Can we sit here and say, was it Tom Thibodeau was the coach, right, for the Bulls? So Fred Hoiberg is there? Hoiberg. So is that the reason Jimmy Butler's better now?
No, it's
or is
not
it because of development?
It's not the reason Jimmy Butler is better. It is because of development. Better. But there's also a reason to be said that Tom Thibodeau was running his players into the ground. You know what I mean? And it was getting to a point where the players were getting hurt, because they're playing so much minutes under Tom Thibodeau. Granted, the team was winning, but they kept getting hurt. Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, as we all know.
But Jimmy Butler's minutes haven't dropped.
Jimmy Butler's minutes, but here's the thing: Jimmy Butler's minutes have dropped off. There'd be times Jimmy Butler had played 48 minutes under Tom Thibodeau. You can't play your players like that.
He played 48 minutes this season also.
He hasn't averaged near 48 minutes. His minutes have went down.
He averages 42, I think, right now. And when under Tom Thibodeau was 44.
That's a big difference.
2 minutes.
That's a big difference.
Actually. Yeah, I think it's averaging and out.
Yeah, that's actually a big difference for how a player how that happens. And Jimmy, you have to also guarantee. Think about this. Under Tom Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler was always guarding the best players and stuff like that. Under Fred Hoiberg, it doesn't always happen as much. Jimmy Butler will sometimes guard LeBron or whatever, but then they sometimes put Tony Snell or somebody on that person. So Fred Hoiberg has, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm giving all the credit of Draymond Green's, development to Steve Kerr, but he's had a big deal to do with it. Putting him in the starting lineup has helped Draymond Green improve. Jimmy Butler was off the bench at first, and Tom Thibodeau brought him into the starting lineup eventually after a while, after whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He brought him off the bench. So, that happened during Tom Thibodeau. That didn't happen with Mark Jackson. David Lee was still starting with Mark Jackson, and then Andre Iguodala was starting. And then it was Steve Kerr who made the choice. I'm going to move Andre to the bench and all this stuff. And we're gonna put Harrison and Draymond in the starting lineup and whatever they did. And then now the rotation got them a championship. So, it's things like that you look at what a coach does that helps a team come better. But we gotta move on. But we could talk about it for forever, man, because that's a debate, man. We didn't even get to get into the score of the game that they had lost. Honestly, the score they lost to the Bulls. 96-83. But going on to talk about the Panthers and the Cardinals game.
Was that a game? Can you call that a game?
It was something. It was a headhunt. It was a headhunt. The Carolina Panthers advanced to the Super Bowl, winning against the Cardinals, 49-15. And when you look at the stats of the game, it's gruesome, man. It's ugly. I mean, the Panthers had 476 total yards, 324 yards passing, 152 yards rushing. They owned time of possession for 36 minutes and 39 seconds and had one turnover. One turnover. Now the Cardinals, on the other hand, had 7 turnovers, 287 yards, 227 passing, and 60 yards rushing. Carson Palmer himself accounted for 6 of the turnovers. This was honestly a nightmare for Carson Palmer. A man that just won his first playoff game last week against the Green Bay Packers, in a game which you could argue they also took their foot off the gas. But he had Carson, he had a quarterback rating of 5. The quarterback rating scale is from 0 to 100. He had a rating of 5. Like, that is his passer rating, the best passer rating he gets is 158.3. He had a passer rating of 43.2. It was a rough day, man. It was a rough day. He was 23 out of 46 passing completions out of passing attempts. Threw 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions, had 2 fumbles. He lost 2 fumbles. It was rough, man. What did you guys think about the shellacking? Just give me your thoughts on it. It was honestly a shellacking, man. It was bad. Khaled, what do you think? Let me hear your point first. What did you think about it?
Oh my God, them Cardinals got blown back. He got destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching the game yesterday. I wasn't really paying attention, but I was watching, and every time I looked, the Panthers scored.
Yeah,
and it was so crazy. And the way that the Panthers defense just held back Carson Palmer, and he just put so much pressure on them. I swear that the offensive line just collapsed sometimes, and Carson Palmer was just getting attacked and destroyed. Like, he was getting hurt almost as bad as Peyton Manning was. I'm not Peyton Manning, as Tom Brady, but not as bad. And it seemed like their defense just wasn't playing. They weren't there. Like, Cam Newton had a lot of time in the pocket. Like, I saw this man stand there for like 4 seconds and throw it off. Like, this man had so much time to get an accurate pass off. Mm-hmm. The secondary, they were all over the place. Once a pass was thrown, the receivers caught it, and they just couldn't stop them. So the team was just they just crumbled.
All right, Rashad, what did you think about the game?
The Arizona Cardinals as a team played the worst game they played of the season, and the Carolina Panthers as a team played the best game they played of the season. They had 7 turnovers, a muff punt, 4 interceptions, and 2 fumbles by Carson Palmer. Boy, I never thought I'd see this game by Carson Palmer, especially in the playoffs. I've never thought, oh man, as great as a quarterback he's been all year, I never seen. But it did make me realize why the Panthers are so good of a team now. This is the team in the league that has the most fun, the most stress-free team there is out there. When you watch them play, they're all happy. Yeah, they're always happy. Yeah. No matter what the scores, they're happy.
Yeah.
And that's what separates them from a lot of these other teams who are, going there like, oh, we gotta be tight, everything gotta be crisp. We gotta make sure we're this, we gotta make sure we're that. A lot of teams are more stressed. This team just plays so loose, so free, making plays just everywhere, having fun. Every time they score, they're having fun. Everybody on the bench is celebrating more than probably Cam Newton is.
They dab the whole team.
Yeah, the whole team. Yeah, he dab whole team dabs. Yeah. He's not it's crazy because he's not the only one giving the ball now. So it's just as a team, they're a lot more loose, and that's what is going to give them the advantage over the Broncos as well.
Yeah.
They're basically the same team with a higher power offense.
Well, we're gonna save our predictions for that game for Super Bowl week, but I mean, I agree with y'all. I mean, that's one thing. I feel like the Panthers kind of emulate the Warriors of the NBA, but because it's one of those things that you're looking at how the Warriors have so much fun playing, and the Panthers, I mean, they just enjoy playing football. Like they
love it.
They all just, and the Cam Newton is the leader of it all. You know what I mean? Like they just so enjoyable. And you can argue in the NBA, it's not even Steph Curry who's bringing that kind of culture to the Warriors. It's Draymond Green. Draymond Green's the one that has that infectious attitude that rubs off on the rest of the Warriors players. But
I think having those young centerpieces really do help the team.
Yeah,
a whole lot.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And as Cam Newton being a quarterback who a lot of people have doubted, his his overall ability since his rookie season. He hasn't posted the greatest numbers since his rookie season, but he came into the season with a lot of people doubting him and counting his team out. And it's all been about this season for them proving people wrong. That's all it is. It's been about that whole thing. He even said it, like, he doesn't want to make it personal, nothing, because his team has helped him get to this point. But it's all about proving the doubters wrong, proving everybody that had them out wrong. Because nobody ever, even when they were 14-0, nobody wanted to give everybody was still doubting the Panthers. 14-0, nobody was even giving them their credit. Going into the game against Seattle, people were still feeling like, oh, the Panthers could lose to Seattle. Seattle's the big brother. They go out there and they give Seattle the work. And then in the second half, Seattle makes a comeback, but still loses. Then everybody felt that the Cardinals were the best team in the NFC, even though the Cardinals were like a game or so behind the Panthers in the NFC. Everybody felt like the Cardinals were the best team in the NFC. Come out and give the Cardinals the work. So it's so many things that you look at, and you're just like, man, the Panthers, like there was a point in time where they forced 3 straight fumbles. The Patrick Peterson muff punt on the punt return, then the Carson Palmer fumbled, and then he threw a pick. So it was honestly 3 straight picks. You know what I like?
You know what I like when when Cam Newton threw a pick. I think it was the very next play or like a play down the line, but then Carson Palmer threw a pick in the end zone.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was funny. The Patrick Peterson and them were struggling on defense to guard Ted Ginn Jr. and Corey Brown. It was funny. It was funny, man. It was
all the people that could cook you. Ted Ginn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. Guys, we're going on to the next topic. The last topic of the day. Who is the best? Is Cam Newton the best quarterback in football? I mean, it's after yesterday's game. I mean, Cam. I mean, he put up quite an argument for himself. He had two passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He threw for 335. He had a quarterback rating of 88.4 and had a passer rating of 117.4. He also rushed for 2 touchdowns himself. So Cam Newton just seems to have the all-around game. But I'll ask everybody. I mean, is he the best quarterback in the NFL? Including Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, whoever you want to throw in there. Khaled, give me your actually Rashad. Yeah, Rashad, give me your take. Who do you think the best quarterback is in football?
I would have to say it is him right now, because remember when Aaron Rodgers came out with this run pass attack? Oh yeah, everybody was like, he's the best quarterback. Yeah, he's like the best quarterback in the league. Cam Newton just took that to a whole nother level of athleticism and accuracy when it comes to playing football. He's the most fluent quarterback right now. He's up there as probably the best passer, and there's no quarterback who can move like Cam Newton can. I don't even think Russell Wilson can move like he can. So is Cam Newton's the best quarterback in the league.
All right, Khaled, who do you think? What is your take? Who do you think?
I say Cam is good. I mean, is the best right now. I do want to see how he fares against this Broncos defense. As you can see that Tom Brady, as we can arguably say for a long time, has been the best quarterback in the league. But Tom Brady doesn't have the offensive line and stuff like that. And the way the Broncos just shut that man down for most of the game, I want to see if the top defense and the top offense, this is like the proving point for Cam Newton. I want to see if he's really that great against this top-notch defense. If he is, then that man takes it.
This is difficult. This is difficult.
Like he's Superman.
Yeah, nobody's playing like he is.
If y'all could start the season next season and draft a quarterback in fantasy, who would you pick?
You gotta pick Cam Newton because Kelvin Benjamin coming back also. And that's
you would pick Cam Newton. Who would you pick, Khaled?
Actually, no.
Because
Fantasy.
that's
I don't know.
Fantasy-
okay. Well, the
Fantasy's
next
different.
season,
That's tough.
what quarterback would you have playing the best next season?
Cam Newton still.
You have
Fantasy,
Cam
I
Newton.
can't go with Cam Newton fantasy because you have people like Carson Palmer who put up really good passing numbers.
All right.
Yeah, that's another thing.
When I look at the numbers, Cam Newton's season numbers, he has a 59.8 completion percentage. He's thrown for 3,837 yards, 35 touchdowns or passing touchdowns to 10 interceptions, and he's rushed for 10 touchdowns. And he has 636 rushing yards. Tom Brady, on the other hand, has thrown for 4,770 passing yards. He has a completion percentage of 64.4 and has thrown for 36 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he's rushed for 3 touchdowns and 53 rushing yards. Aaron Rodgers, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown, 3,821 passing yards, 60% completion percentage. Carson Palmer, 4,671, 63% passing percentage, 35 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. Then you get to Russell Wilson, who's had 4,024 passing yards, 68% completion percentage, 34 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 553 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So you look at all that, it is so hard to decide. Because here's the thing, I don't want to be a person that lives in the moment. Because at the end of the day, if I had to choose a quarterback to be like, I'm giving the ball to you on the last drive to go and give me the
Tom Brady.
I'm choosing Tom Brady. But see, if I'm choosing Tom Brady, then why isn't Tom Brady the best quarterback in football?
Because the whole game is different than that final clutch.
I mean, that defense.
That's like the LeBron and Kobe thing. Like you choose LeBron all game, but then when it comes out, fourth quarter, like Kobe get in there.
But here's the thing, Cam Newton's also great in the fourth quarter.
He is great.
But here's the thing,
he's not Tom
But
Brady.
here's the thing, it's the numbers show that Tom Brady has been better, at least throwing the ball, than Cam Newton the whole season.
I think the whole thing for it is because of this game, the Broncos. That's the thing.
I think
the Broncos
in the moment.
I think it's the weapons too.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Like Gronk is better than Greg Olsen. Yes.
He does have Julian Edelman too.
Mm-hmm.
And he has Julian. Well, Josh Brown's a quarterback of Carolina, right? Is it Josh Brown?
Yeah.
Is it Josh Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's better. No, he's Julian Edelman is better than him.
Mm-hmm. Wait, you said the cornerback or
I meant receiver.
Corey Brown.
See, I thought he said.
No, yeah, I was about to say. I think Josh Norman is the cornerback.
No, I want to talk about Josh.
Oh, the wide receiver is Corey Brown.
Corey Brown. Because Josh Brown's the Arizona Cardinal one.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so yeah, Corey Brown, Julian Edelman is better than he is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, his
weapons.
But here's the thing. I mean, a completion percentage of Cam. I mean, your receivers do affect it, but then Aaron Rodgers still threw a better completion percentage than Cam Newton. And
Aaron Rodgers is a very accurate quarterback. Though.
But quarterback. That's the point. It's a quarterback. I mean, Cam Newton can run also, yes, but Russell Wilson can run too. And then you want to talk about weapons. I mean, Russell Wilson.
But those weapons became actually some of the top receivers in the league this year.
But because of Russell Wilson, we could say the same thing about Cam Newton. Because of Cam Newton, Ted Ginn Jr. became good. Corey Brown was good. Yes. Oh, so Jermaine Kearse is good now?
Jermaine Kearse actually was decent last year.
No, not the word you said. Decent. Decent. Ted Ginn has been good. He's been. I mean, he's mainly been a special teams guy. But who did Russell Wilson have? Who did Russell Wilson have on a dominant basis? They were like, that's a go-to receiver all the time. And this dude still threw 68%, better than all those quarterbacks. And he ran for 553.
That's what I was like. 68%.
No, I'm just saying. Like, you want to make an argument about person? Oh, come on, man. Man, y'all,
that's a tough one.
Come on.
You can't be saying the best.
No, man.
But you can't be calling like the best quarterback because everybody had their good points and stuff like that. Even like Tom Brady.
Guys, we'll debate it. Yeah, we got it, man. We gotta go. This is 11. Guys, you can't make the personal argument, man. I'm just saying. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. It's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show, your 24-hour day, hosting it on WODU Live, the best in college radio. And subscribe to our YouTube channel on KBR Sports. And you can see past shows and past segments on there as long as the WODU Live YouTube channel. Then you can follow us on our Twitter page at KBR_sports. You can get up-to-date information on the show, the topics for the show of the day, and other information that in regards to KBR Sports. All right, everybody, have a great day.